Hi everyone, this is Nina, and today I think I'm going to try and show you how to make those beanie hats that I've been making. Let's go ahead and make enough chains and get started. We're going to make a size 6 to 12 months. We're going to start by doing a foundation chain of 29. So let's go ahead and get started. And this hat you're going to have to end up counting a lot to make sure that you're staying in the right gauge size. So let's get started with this, and then 28 and 29. Okay, so as you can see, we have the chain, and a lot of you had said that you can make a chain. So if you can make a chain, you can crochet. It just takes practice. I think the most practice is learning how tightly to hold your yarn and pull it through. I think the best thing to do is just to relax. This should be something that's enjoyable, something that you can just relax and sit around, take a break. This is how I use crocheting. After I've got everything done, I have a few minutes to sit and relax. This is what I like to do, pull up my yarn and my hook. So the next step is you're going to do it's called a half double. And the reason that it's called a half double, and to me, this took me a little bit to get used to this. So I'm going to try and get close to the camera so you can kind of see. Let me turn the camera around so you can see it from the angle where you'll be working. I'm trying to do this in slow motion, so we're going to pull it through that first one. And once it's through there, that's where I had to sometimes push out with my middle finger to continue pulling that through. Let's do that again slowly and put it in the next chain. Pull it through that one. And then we're going to push through a little tiny bit with my finger to pull it through both. Okay, continue to do that. Here's what it's starting to look like. Continue to do this until you have 2 chains left at the end. Alright, so we've got that done. We are down to the last 2 chains. And we are going to do a slip stitch right here. So you just put it through, take it out, and then pull it through that one. And into, pull it through, and then continue to pull it through there. Alright? So, what you're going to do now is you're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now this longer string, for some of you guys, you might have to cut that off and leave about probably 2 inches, and that way it's not going to get in your way as much. Alright, so this is what we have now. So this pattern calls for the first two stitches right here. Let me take the hook out so I can show you better. This one and this one. Those are the first 2. Alright? In those first 2, we are going to do the slip stitch in the back yarn. Okay, I'm trying to get this so it's really coming in well. So in the back yarn, we're going to do like we just did on the other side. Put it through there. We're going to pull the yarn through and then through that hole. Alright, so now we are going to do the half a double chain slip stitch. So only in the back loop only. We're not going to be doing anything in this front side. All of the work is going to be taking place in the back loop only. So now for the next 26 stitches, we're going to be doing the half a double, okay? So for this one, once again, I'll show you. You pull through the very next stitch, and then you pull that through those two, just like we did at the beginning. All right? Yarn over, put it through. You're going to pull that through there, and then that is going to go through those two loops. Once again, I'll go a little bit slower for you, okay? In the very next back row only, gonna pull it through there. So that way you have 3 loops. You're gonna take that first loop and continue to pull it through. See how I got stuck there a little bit? That's very normal. Pull it through those 2 loops, okay? One more time, slow. Whoops, make sure you get the whole 2 strands on there. Yarn over and put it through underneath the very next back loop. Gonna pull that through. Shows that you have 3. So you're gonna take the first one and you're gonna pull it through the 2. And this is what it should be starting to look like. Now this is gonna be a little bit closer on this end, because this end is the end that we're going to be working the slip stitches through every time. So that's one way to remember. It's not going to be both sides, it's only going to be on the one side. And that will help you remember when it comes down to the next couple chains, like we're in row 2 right now. So we're going to continue this in every single one of these here, okay? And you'll see now as I do this a little bit that why I put my finger and thumb behind that middle, so that I can make sure that my hook is not getting hooked in the middle of that yarn. It's just easier for me to pull it through. So we're going in behind, we're pulling that, and then I place my finger behind it and pull it through. And that way, when I do that, it's helping me not to get the hook stuck. Like if it would be like that, put your finger back there and push out just a little bit, and it kind of helps you pull that through. So we just want a real easy crochet. Don't be pulling too hard. Don't fight it too hard. I know a lot of times when you're a beginner, you want everything to be extra tight. We don't want this to be extra tight. We want it to be able to have room to move. You want your little beanie hat to be comfortable. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue this stitch. And see, it got hung there? Just be patient, put your hook back through, and there you go. Kind of does teach patience, I think, sometimes. And they do get stuck a lot with this type of yarn it's called bulky yarn. Sometimes when you get used to crocheting and you do several rows like this, you will start to feel more confident and you'll feel more relaxed, so that what you're doing comes as a second nature. You don't have to constantly think about it. And as you're doing your row, you don't have to get, whoops, slipped out there, see that? You don't have to get all worried about the count, because we know that on the second row that the chains are going to go all the way down to the very end. And then I'll show you, as soon as we get done right down through here, how we're going to start with our row 3. Now, there's actually only, this pattern actually only goes to the row 4, and I'll show you why. Because you steps 3 and 4, so you'll just keep doing those. You'll go back from 3 to 4, row 3 to 4 on your little beanie hat here. All right, so let's just stay right there. We're at the end of the row. Now, what you're going to do now is you're going to do the slip stitch, and then we're going to turn our work. All right, so now it should start looking like this. And with what I like to do now is we still need to make sure that we've got 29 of these chains up on top, because sometimes when you're a beginner crocheter, you can have a tendency to start out like this, and within a few rows of building on to this, you can start and it starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller, or larger and larger and larger. And that happens a lot to new beginners of crochet. So when you're doing a project like a hat, you really want to make sure that you're staying really close, and you're going to have the 29 loops, stitches I should say. So let's go ahead and count these, all right, just to show you how I do it. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and then this one that it's hooked onto would be 29. So right now we're exactly where we need to be, and we've already turned our work, so now we can get started on row 3. Okay, for row 3, we're going to start out with the half a double chain in the back loop only. And once again, we're going to do this in the first 26 stitches. So which means we're going to have the last 2 are going to be the ones that we do the single slip stitch in, okay? Well, 2 of them actually. Okay. I'm going to set my camera up a little bit because I'm not going to be able to get my work in there. And this is the first time I have filmed anything close up like this. And so I hope that you guys are going to be able to see, and I'm not going to confuse you too much. Alright, so in row 3, we're going to start with our half a double. So let's take the yarn over, put it through that loop, pull that through, and then we got the 3 on there again, right? So this first one, we're going to pull through both loops. And let's go ahead and do this all the way until the end, and save your last 2 loops so that we can do the slip stitch, okay? Okay, we're down to the last 2, so we're just going to do the slip stitch there, okay? And pull it through there. And pull it through there. And then we're going to do chain 1, and chain 1, turn our work, and this is how it looks now. Now I suggest that every row or 2 you go back and you count up on top here. Make sure that you have the 29 chains, okay? And then sometimes it might get confusing because of the way we're doing all of our work in the back loop. It might look like the chain is right here. See how you can roll it? This looks like the chain that we're working in. Actually, it's not. It's this one right here. And the way that you can tell is how the yarn is going through up here on the chain. See how this one is not going through up here? It's going through up here. So make sure that you're looking as you're doing the work, and you're doing it on the right side here, and not letting the work roll and doing it underneath. Okay? Okay, so now we're going to start in the row 4. We've already chained 1, we've turned our work, and now here's where we're going to do our slip stitch in the first 2 back loops only. Now I will show you a little tip, because when I started doing these little beanie hats, whatever you want to call them, I was having trouble remembering if I was on row 3 or row 4, and I would forget if the single slip stitch would be in, if the slip stitch would be at this side at the beginning, or if it was going to be at the end. Okay, so now we're beginning on row 4, and I'm going to tell you a little secret here about how I figured this out for me, and I hope that it helps you. When I first began this, to make these little hats, I would get confused if I was on row 3 or row 4, and because you're going to keep going back between the two. Well, the reason being is you want all of those single stitches in the back loops to be on one side of your work. The pattern, because I was, new at this pattern, I got a little confused, and I thought it was the slip stitch was on each side at the beginning and the end. But it's not. Row 3, you actually have the slip stitches at the last 2, and then on row 4, you have the slip stitches at the beginning. So let me tell you, so you don't get confused like I was confused, especially if you're new. I'm not new to crocheting, but I'm new to reading the patterns, and I know a lot of you will understand that. So this is the way that I figured it out. Like I showed you at the beginning, see how much smaller this side is compared to this side. Can you tell the difference? Like this side, it's more open. This side's kind of smaller. Let me see if I can pull it back here so you can tell like that. That might help you a little bit. So what I did is I stopped trying to count if it was row 3 or if it was row 4. I just started every time I turned after doing the singles in the back loop, and I turned my work. I then knew that I started out again in the singles because I was on the small end of my work. Does that make sense? I sure hope it does to you. So what I'm saying is, now that I know that this is the small end, and I'm actually on row 4, I can just start this work. We're going to start with, we're going to start with the slip stitch in that next chain right there. Slip that through, and we're going to do that in 2 of them like we always do. There's always 2 there. And now we do that half a double in the back loop only, and that way we are going to continue this stitch, the half a double in the back loop only, all the way to the end of our row. Okay, now go ahead and pause, take your time getting to the end of the row, and then just come back. Okay, we're almost at the end. We've got the 2 left here, and we are going to continue doing the half a double in the back row only. Sometimes when you get to this end here and you need to count to have the 29 and you don't really see anything here, you're going to have to make sure that you find something to attach this to go through, because this is actually a loop, but you don't want this right here if you can help it, because that's going to be more of the end. So go underneath, see that little loopy right in here, and sometimes it's a pain, but take your time until you can get your hook through that. Use your finger to help kind of pull it if you have to. See there? So I'm going to pull that out a little bit so that it's easier to get to when I yarn over. See there? And that way I can pull it through that one and then the other 2. And then we're going to do the single stitch, and here we are. We turned over and we're starting to go back now. So now see here, here would be the point where we're going to start doing the same step over and over and over and over. And you can really start to tell that this side is a little bit larger than this size. See how more tight these are together, as in right like this? Okay? This is the side, the only side that we're doing the slip stitches through. This side, this will always be the half a double in the back loop only when you start out and when you finish each row. Okay? Makes sense? So this is the easiest way that I found to do it. That I always know on this larger side, this is to me when it started getting a little bit easier. And you're going to have to play with that yarn sometimes. See, I like to show, I've watched a lot of videos on crocheting, and you don't see any of their little mistakes. I like to show those because we all have those things where the yarn gets stuck, or where our hook is not exactly pulling all of the yarn through, and you've got to go back and fix it. I've had to go back and I've had to pull out a whole roll before, because it had something in the middle, looked a little bit hodgepodged or whatever. And I kind of like to show those things when they happen, because everybody has, see, look right there. If I wouldn't have went back and make sure that I've got both of those strands, it would have really messed up the look once I got that pulled through. So see, I like to show those things so you guys can say, oh yeah, that happened to Nina, and she was able to fix it. And that's what I want you to be able to do. I want you to be able to enjoy this. I'm not the best, and I'm not the best teacher, but I honestly believe that if somebody really wants to learn to crochet, they can. I taught myself using I think it was called Crochet for Dummies book from the library. Now, mind you, I had watched my grandmother many times when I was little, and she even tried to show me, and I was just not able to get it. I was too young, I think, or maybe I just couldn't get it by being taught that way. I think we all have different ways of learning things. Some people can learn if you tell them. Some people can learn if you show them a pattern. And some people can learn from like this, by someone showing you a tutorial where you're able to stop it wherever you want, and also replay parts so that you can, get the full effects. So however it is that you learn, find how that you learn, and that will be the best for you. Now, that book that I had got from the library taught me basic stitches, which was wonderful for me. I learned them really well from that. But me, as far as learning a new pattern or even a new stitch, I learn better from watching videos. And sometimes if they're too quick, I just watch it and go. Sometimes I watch the same little thing 3 or 4 times. And look, we're already down. We've got one more half a double to do right here. And then I need one of those things that you put your ball of yarn in so it doesn't roll all over. I need to invest in one of those. But anyway, so we've got these loops left, and this is where we're at the small end again. This is where we're just going to do, I don't know if I can get my fingers to work. I'm going to go in and just pull it through, slip stitch, just like that. And in that stitch down there again, I'm going to pull that through, and then through again. And then we're going to do that chain so we can turn our work, okay? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Okay, we are exactly where we still want to be. So make sure that you're counting every couple rows at least. Okay, so now we're at this small end again. So what are we going to do? We're going to do the slip stitches here. See how much easier that is to remember? So always remember, the smaller side is getting the slip stitches. This side is not getting any. Not at the beginning of the row and not at the end of the row. this side with the smaller one gets his slip stitches at the beginning and at the end. Okay, so now that we've got this done, I'm going to show you. We are going to do, these are counted as the rows that we're going to be doing for the hat. And in this size, which is the 6 to 12 month size, each one of these we're considering a row. So here is 1 row, the inside is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. So we're going to continue this pattern until we have 42 rows. So this is 5 rows right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to continue till we have 42. So come on back when you've got that done. All right, we are back, and we are almost done with the little beanie hat. Okay, let's see if I can move this camera. Nope, wrong way. There we go. All right. So this is where we finished at, right here, and this is where we began. So what we're going to do is, the part that we finished is going to be further away from us, and the part that we began with will be closest to us, and then we're going to just fold this up, okay? We're going to make sure that that is through there. And then I'm going to take about 1.5 feet or whatever, about 16 inches or so of yarn. And I am going to, you can use a little crochet needle that they're plastic. This one, hope that's coming through, there we go. This is actually an upholster needle. It's not super sharp. See the end? It's dull. It doesn't hurt. I have this. I got a bunch of sewing equipment along with a sewing machine from my youngest sister's mother-in-law. When she passed away, they gave it to me, and this was in her set of different types of needles that she had, and it has worked out perfect. I like it so much better than the plastic one. So if you have one, or if you find one, you know, I would suggest go ahead and get it and keep it put up with your crochet things. So you just thread it like you would a regular needle. And what we're going to do is, you know, we have 42 lines in between. You count as one also. There's 42. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and go through our little loop that was left here and kind of tie that off. We're just going to start at the very end, and I hope you guys can see that. Let me see if I can zoom up it on the camera a little bit for you guys. There we go. Okay, so I've got one, and we're just going to go back and forth through every single stitch. Just back and forth. And that's going to make the two sides connect just perfectly. Alright, go ahead and finish all the way down to the end of the hat. Okay, we've got the yarn weaved all the way down to the end here. And then what we're going to do here is, let's go through it one more time, well, maybe twice more here. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog. She's over there complaining. Okay, so there we are at the end. And then we are going to knot this off right here also. That way when we pull the yarn to draw this hat, it's not going to mess up our our line here, okay? Because it can mess that up really bad. Gently at first, and then tighten it, okay? And then you can just leave this piece of yarn laying there. What we're going to do next is we are going to go around. This is going to be the top of the hat. And we're going to start where we left off at. Very easy. We're just going to go in, kind of weave in and out of the holes that were made when we did the hat. Doesn't have to be precise. And we're going to do this all the way around. Now, while we're doing this, I want to go ahead and take the time to tell you that if you make a mistake when you're making the hat, crocheting the hat on a row, don't be afraid to take that whole roll out, or even 2 rows if you notice that something was wrong in the middle of it or something. Yeah, don't be afraid to just pull the yarn out and start those rows over again. Also, I can tell you from experience, I don't know if you're on a budget like I am, but if you are, I would suggest that you look at thrift stores or garage sales when you go to look for brand new yarn. I got this yarn that you're seeing here, and I checked it online, and for 5 skeins of this yarn, it was $36, and I got 5 skeins of it for $3.50. So yeah, make sure that you check so that you can do what you enjoy doing. And now we're back at that end. So what we're going to do now is slightly pull on the long string. See how it's starting to make this close up? Now as it closes up, let's put our string and our needle down through the hole and the other small string that was there, okay? We're going to flip it. And while it's like this, excuse me, while I take a minute to get everything sorted. While it's in this position, we're going to go ahead and finish pulling and drawing that hole all the way together, okay? I always leave about a finger length of a finger width of a hole there so that I can put my pom-pom on. So I've got 2 here, and I'm trying to decide which one that I think I would like to go with. This one is like a cream colored with a little bit of black on the tips, and then this one is a really dark brown with a little bit of, it almost looks pink, but it's like a light color at the end of the tips. I kind of like that one. The color of the yarn is called buckskin, so this kind of reminds me of a real animal, even though it's faux fur. So let's go with this buckskin one, all right? So what you do is you can order these off of Etsy. You can go to any of your crafting stores. They've got them, you know, at all those places. Try to use a coupon. I'll be right back. I'm going to try and find the little loop. Okay, that took me a minute. I'm glad you guys didn't wait for me. Okay, so here's the little loop. Some of them come with strings, which I would love to find some of those. I've never been able to find any. I even looked on Amazon. The only ones I found come with the elastic loop. And since it's kind of hard to fool with, because I've got large hands, I use the hook that I was using and to use it to hold it with as I put it in. So what we do is I hold down the fur like this. Since this on what's inside is going to be the outside of the hat, I will poke that through so it shows through where we put the needle and stuff through at. And I'm going to use this hook to hold that ball so it doesn't get lost in there, see? And then what we're going to do is we're going to tighten this now really tight, okay? And then use your tail that was left over to tie a knot. If I can get my fingers to work. There we go. And I'll show you what I like to do. You don't have to, but to me, especially if you're making them for a child or, you know, an active adult even, you want to have it really, really secure. So what I do is, let me see if I can get a close-up for you. Okay, there we are. I'll put my needle through that piece of elastic and then sew it. Am I on screen? Yep, there we go. And then use some of the yarn and then go through it a couple times like that. Now that it's hooked on, I can find it easily. So go through on this side with some of your yarn, find the elastic hoop there, go through it again, and I like to do this several times, like almost in a circle. The first one that I put on, so I kind of like this way of doing it where it's sewing up the hole, but it's also making sure that that pom-pom is very, very tightly connected in there. And then we're going to tie another couple knots. Pretty tight. And then I leave a little bit of yarn. It's not going to hurt anything. You can't even feel it. So then we're going to turn it. Let me zoom back out for you. I'm going to turn it back around the way that they're going to wear it. And what we can do is, let me take this in my restroom, and I'm going to blow this dry with the blow dryer and show you how much fluffier and prettier that pom-pom is going to look. And now you can see, look at that pom-pom. Isn't that adorable? So anytime they get kind of where they've been worn or, you know, little kids squeezed on them too much, just run the blow dryer over them just for a couple of seconds. And that's our little hat. So this is going to fit a 6-month-old baby to a year-old, maybe a year and a half. And I'll show you what else that I did. And if any of you are avid crocheters or knitters, I found this idea online. And I kind of made my own little way of doing it. I went and found these at a hobby store. You can get them at anywhere probably, different shapes. There we go. And they're little leather pieces. I chose this style. They had all different styles. You can fold them actually like this and put them over the top of the little brim like that. Or I've been using them like this. And what I've been doing is I went and got a set where you can actually put initials on this little thing, and then you use the hammer and you put the initials right on the leather. And then I use the same exact yarn to sew this onto the little hat. I started to do this. I was going to start my own little, like my initials or the year, or mix of my initials and the year. And then I thought, you know what kid wouldn't want their initials on a hat? Or if they have a short name, you might be able to put that on there if it's only 3 or 4 letters, like the name Joe or whatever. I used my little granddaughter's name, Macy, and it fit on there, but it was super, super tight. So I kind of think that the initials might work better for you. But you might be able to find a little bit longer leather piece too. I'm not for certain. I know that they had circles and all different types of things. But anyway, I thought that would be a great idea for anybody that would want to be starting maybe their own little business making these. I don't know. But have fun. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. It's the first one I've ever done. And I'm going to put a link in the description box of the lady that I found the website for. And I want to make sure that she gets credit for this pattern. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this and have a great evening. Bye-bye.